Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the CX Goalkeeper podcast. Your host, Gregorio Lioni, will have a smart discussion with expert, thought leader, and friends on customer experience, transformation, innovation, and leadership. I hope you will enjoy the next episode. Ladies and gentlemen, this is really a big pleasure. I'm not interviewing one, but two great people, and in particular are Neal and Paul. They are with me from Fireside without fires. Good evening, good day, good morning. How are you?
I'm wonderful. I can only speak for this half of the Fireside chat. I'm wonderful, and I'm thrilled, Gregorio, to be back with you. It's strange for me to say your name, Gregorio, because in my mind, when I associate you, I just go right to CX Goalkeeper. So I have to think for a second to remember, no, his name is it's Gregorio. But I'm thrilled to spend time with you. CX Goalkeeper, Gregorio, you're a wonderful host and gracious, and thank you for having us.
Thank you, Neal. And now I must ask the question. How are you feeling, Paul?
Gregorio, I'm buzzing. What an absolute honor to be part of this podcast. Thank you so much. And yeah, it's great. I can't wait to get stuck into this. Thank you so much for the very kind invite. And echo what Neal said there. You're a wonderful guy, and the work and the content that you're putting out at the moment, mate, is second to none. So kudos.
Thank you very much. And I think even if we are three, let's start asking questions. And perhaps, Paul, could you please start introducing yourself?
I can try, although I'm not very good at it, to be honest with you. So my name is Paul Catherall. I've got a number of different strings to my bow, I guess. I am first and primarily Director of Customer Care with Ultramobile. So I'm responsible for day-to-day delivery for our customers out there. That includes Ultramobile and Mint Mobile. My other passions include sport. I'm going to be golfing in a number of hours, Neal. Sorry if that annoys you, but I'm teeing off in about 2 hours. So yeah, can't wait for that to get
going. Annoys me? No, I'm envious. I'm never annoyed. I'm just envious.
And I guess one of my big passions at the moment is I'm really heavily involved in podcasting. I've got an innate feeling built in with me that I want to help people either launch or start or grow either their own podcast or live stream. So in a nutshell, mate, that's me, apart from being dad to a wonderful Darcy, who I miss terribly. There you go.
Thank you very much, Paul. And my the half that it's Italian from my side, I hand over to the president. And in Italy, if you're speaking about to the president, then it's the president of a soccer team. And therefore, Neal, could you please introduce yourself?
Thank you. Of course. My name is Neal Topf. One of the things I do, I'm the president and co-founder of Callzilla. We are an outsourced contact center provider, or some people call us BPO, business process outsourcer. We are a U.S. Outsourced contact center with operations in what we call nearshore, South America, in Bogota, Colombia. And we have spread from 2 big sites to work from home as well during the pandemic. And we've learned lots certainly about that. And we'll get into that, I'm sure, later in the podcast. And then I have my other really fun job, which is I get to co-create and co-host Fireside Chats Without the Fires with the smarter of the two of us, Paul. He's the smart one. I'm the loud one. He makes sure that the podcast runs like a Swiss watch, and I'm just the one that makes the volume. But it's a lot of fun to create and collaborate with Paul, and that's one of the joys that we get to look forward to every week.
And I think it's really a great podcast. I will put all the links in the show notes because people, listeners, and also my audience can really get value from your podcast. But we are not here to speaking about the podcast itself, perhaps also to start the introduction. Neal, you mentioned something. Callzilla, you're the president, you founded that, or you're a co-founder. And it's really important what I'm in my research, I found out you are focusing on quality, generating consistent, exceptional customer satisfaction and company productivity. Could you please elaborate a bit? How did you came to this idea to create such a big company? Because in the meantime, it's really a big company.
Thank you. Well, it's we're trying to make it big. We're trying to grow, but grow it sustainably in a way that we can differentiate ourselves and help our clients. How do we help our clients? We the objective is to help their customers achieve resolution in as short a time period as possible. And if we do those two things, I believe we can achieve the third objective, which is satisfaction of some sort. I think if we do those things, we differentiate ourselves. Someone has told me there are maybe it's 70,000 call centers out in the world. I don't know if that's an accurate number, but it sounds good. And I would like to consider that probably 69,700 of them are terrible. And there's maybe 200 or 300 that are pretty good to really good. And I want to be in that upper echelon. That's what motivates me. But the big thing, you know, and maybe I'm skipping ahead, the thing that fascinates me is to get to figure out and to create and try to see the crystal ball. By the way, I'm not a magician. I'm not a fortune teller at all. I'm just trying to figure out, you know, where we need to be and how we're going to be able to help consumers. One of the big things that, and I'm going to take this back to CX Goalkeeper, to your chapter in the Customer Experience 3 book. One of the things that I love the most is to get rid of what you call in your model. I love this. Going back to the model, I did some research right before we came back on today. What you call in your model, in your chapter in the CX3 book, the irritant. Get rid of the irritant. And there's lots of things we'll delve into. I'll stop there. But if we can figure out in our customer experience operations how to get rid of the irritant, then we become a lot more successful.
Thank you very much, Neal. And I can say that it was series number 2, episode 16.9 and not 17.
Right.
We discussed about contact center, about customer service, not being a cost center, but being a value-generating, customer-centric engine. And I really appreciate that you are mentioning that again. I think it's really the differentiator, because companies has not so many contacts with the customers anymore, and therefore companies should leverage what creates value and not what it's irritating. Now, Paul, you are not in the background. Also, even if you are in my video below us, you don't need to ensure that everything's worked properly. The recording is going. I'm trying to keep the timing, but I am already sure that we will discuss more than half an hour, but no problem at all.
Love it.
You are the director of customer care at Ultramobile and Mint. And also there you are mentioning that 2 topics that's really important. Please correct me if I'm saying something wrong, as first contact resolution and customer satisfaction. Really near or adherent of what Neal is telling us. What's your view on that? What's differentiate Ultramobile?
That's a great question, Gregor, because there is, the KPIs that you've spoken about there are probably most KPIs that contact centers or companies use to measure their performance internally and to a certain extent externally. I think where we differ, I think it's wrong, that's the wrong thing to say. Where we differ is that we set increasing goals, not every year, not every 2 years. We set increasing goals every 13 weeks. So we run a business based on iOS. So it's EOS, the entrepreneurial operating system. And that gives us a scorecard every 13 weeks. So what we do is we run all our KPIs for 13 weeks. And then after a 13-week period, if they're increasing, then we increase that goal. That obviously puts more pressure on us internally to deliver it, but it also gives our customers, whether that's voice or email, an improved customer experience. And we have, on certain occasions, achieved this amazing score because we have different lines of business within Ultra and Mint. We have a dedicated retailer arm for our Ultra customers because people can go physically into the stores and buy our Ultra SIMs, unlike Mint, which is available online only. We've had 100%, I'll say that again, 100% CSAT for our retailer store line, because our agents there perform at such a higher level. Our retailers actually enjoy calling in and speaking to our frontline agents, which sometimes may not be the case. So I think that's what differentiates us, is that we don't rest on our laurels, and we're always looking for ways that we can improve, whether that's through tools, whether that's through systems, whether that's through processes, or in most cases, whether that's through agent knowledge and scripting, because I think sometimes those are the elements or parts of an agent's toolkit that maybe people sometimes overlook. They don't realize the benefits of improved coaching, or just changing certain things on a scripting basis that will really impact customer and agent performance. I'll give you a real life example. We made some changes only 2 weeks ago to a certain call disposition, and we've seen the past week a 22-second decrease in that call disposition, which is great, not only from a customer experience but also from an agent experience. So yeah, hope that helps, mate.
Yes, and coming back to the highest possible customer satisfaction, is the secret that you are paying your customer to give you this rating, or your agents are saying, I will have a cut in the salary of 20%?
It's probably a mixture of no. I'm not gonna lie. No, we don't pay our customers or our retailers to give us a yes. It's a simple yes, no. So we certainly don't pay them to give us a yes. But what we do though is we focus meticulously on how our agents are resolving the customer's issues, but also how they're positioning the CSAT score and making sure that it's not just a simple add-on, that there's some passion about it, and it's the customer's opportunity for them to give us feedback in ways that we can improve. So yeah, and again, we've driven that over the past month or so, and we've seen a 5-10% increase in our customers who are now responding to our survey as well. So it's not just simple there as a tick in the box exercise on the QA form.
And I think this is what really matters in our, let's say, in our business.
Exactly.
Neal, perhaps one question about your podcast together with Paul, and I use really adjectives that I think that are real: exceptional, brilliant, outstanding, because it's really creating a big value. And from the point in time that you started also the collaboration together with the Customer Experience Wargame 2021, even better, but I don't know the right words to define that. Why did you decide to support the Customer Experience Wargame 2021?
That's a great question. I think that when Christopher has been a friend of the podcast, Christopher Brooks, the founder of the CX Wargame, and we told him, well, we kind of saw this, and what is it? Tell us a little bit more about it. And he would tell us, and I don't know if we asked him if we could be involved or he just offered. Honestly, I don't remember. But the fact that there was a possibility of being associated with it and being involved, I mean, Paul and I mean, Paul, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think we didn't think twice about it. It was, really? Can we? Yeah.
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
Great.
Exactly.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
It was a great opportunity. And I think we didn't exactly know what we were agreeing to when we went into it in a good way. But when we got there and realized, wow, we're going to interview all these amazing people, the captains, the judges, the leaders, it was just an amazing experience to see how much went into planning that event and how much went into participating in the event. I mean, the work that these people did was really top-notch quality. But more importantly, it was benevolent. It's helping people. It's helping organizations in different parts of the world. We met just an outstanding set of people. Some of the people we already knew. Some of them we didn't know. Some of them we got to know a little bit better. And that was just a wonderful opportunity for us. I'm so grateful, we haven't talked about it, but if we were, Christopher Brooks, if you're hearing this, if you were to offer us again, I think Paul and I hope we would both say yes. I think we certainly would. I think, we enjoyed it that much.
Neal, I think we can test now, because he's saying that, so Christopher Brooks is saying that he's following my podcast. We will see if he will reply to this request or not.
No pressure.
Exactly. No, I think I fully agree with you. And from thinking about charity and supporting others, I was part of the Customer Experience Wargames 2021. I was in one outstanding team. We didn't win, but the idea is not to win, or we all won together, being able to improve, to help these charities and improve the experience of the people collaborating and working with these charities.
May I add one more thing? Sorry, Paul, you and I haven't talked about this, but this kind of recently occurred to me, is that we were in the podcast, we were interviewing many of the authors, the contributing authors to the Customer Experience 3 book.
Yeah.
Almost kind of in parallel, at the same approximate time as the Customer Experience World Games was going on. And I think there was some overlap between authors and participants, but also that community, quite heavily, I think, European focused in a great way. It was just a very interesting timing of all of these things. And I think it made it that much more enjoyable to be able to see, wow, we just read this person's chapter and here they are participating in the games. Or this person who is an author is also connected to these people and they participate in this organization and they live in this country and they're friends and they connect together on LinkedIn. It was a very, very connected environment. And again, something to just have really enjoyed.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a great experience to be on, Gregory. And so this is how it worked. For my memory is never the best. However, I do remember this. So Mr. Brooks was a guest on our podcast. And after we recorded the podcast, we got talking a little bit more in detail about the Customer Experience World Games. And it was actually Christopher that said, I'd love to get you guys on. It was he mentioned it. And while Neal and I were over the moon, I don't think either of us thought it was ever going to come true. And then woe be told, honestly, he's such a genuine guy that he said, right, we're doing it. And I think it's just an amazing, yes, it's an amazing experience. It's an amazing, I guess, body of work that's being done at the moment, right? But ultimately, the CX world has a lot to be thankful for Mr. Brooks in terms of creating that. It's just a great thing to be up and running. And I never thought that a Welsh lad from a small town in North Wales would ever be part of something so global, I guess. So yeah, I'm very proud and I'm very humble to be part of that.
I think what you're saying, I can only confirm that. I am sure that next year I will participate again because it's really an outstanding opportunity also to refresh the connection within the customer experience community. And it's really a great community to learn about customer experience. And the most important is to help also other people. Coming back to your podcast, you mentioned some of your guests, and you had really outstanding guests and quite a lot of discussions. And I think we are all CX professionals. You are also working in the customer experience field. Perhaps also to show the importance of podcasting and listening to podcasts, create podcast. Let's start with Neal. What is the biggest learning that you have in your last, let's say, roughly 2 years or 3 years being part of the podcast Fire Chat Without Fires?
I love this question. So it's such an opportunity to interact with thought leaders. And some of the thought leaders we know ahead of time, some of them we meet for the first time there. And sometimes we're humans, right? You have an impression of people that maybe you see in their photo on LinkedIn, or you read their things on LinkedIn, or you've seen them on a webinar or something like that. It's easy to make a very quick judgment. And I admit, I said, this one, I'm not so sure about this person. That person is really smart, but not so nice. This one's going to be really boring. And what we've learned is the judgment, don't judge. Because once we come on and hit the record button, it comes alive. And everyone shines in their own unique way. Some of the guests are incredibly expressive. Some of them are incredibly brilliant. Some of them are so brilliant, but not as articulate and fun. Anyway, it's a mix of personalities. And bottom line is we've learned a lot. I don't always agree personally with the things that each of the guests say. Sometimes I express that disagreement. Sometimes I just keep it to myself, and that's okay. What I have learned, and this is kind of, just thinking out loud. So Paul and I are both in the contact center portion of customer experience. And we're the intersection of so many different theories, of practices, of ideas, of research, but we're on the front line. We live this every day. There are some of our guests that are not living this every day. They're writing about it. They're asking the people that are on the front lines every day. So they have a different perspective than us. Not better, not worse, different. That's okay. For me, the greatest thing that I'm focusing on right now in this particular moment in time is I don't want to hear anyone tell me anymore, you should, you have to, you must, this. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. what I want to hear is really, if we do this, how do we connect this activity to the business and make sure that whatever the activity is, makes sense for the business. I think in our CX community, we don't always connect the two. I think in our CX community, there are individuals that don't know how to connect the two, and that's an opportunity for us. But these two have to be linked together. I'd wrap this answer up with one final kind of thought, which is we just recently interviewed an author named Rishad Tobakwala. We interviewed him just a few days ago. The podcast is not yet published. And what a guy to challenge our thoughts in many things. I'm thinking we have to connect the CX thing to the business, but he's telling us, don't manage by spreadsheet. It's killing us. Company needs to stop managing by spreadsheet. And so again, like I have my world changed, thinking this way and then that way. The podcast is a beautiful way to be challenged every single week by different people with different thoughts and different perspectives. That's one of the things I love about it.
Thank you, Neal. I'm looking forward to listen to this podcast. And basically, what you are saying is strongly linked to what Gary Vaynerchuk is saying, that he will never bring his company public because then he will have shareholders and he needs to deliver on quarterly basis and he wants to deliver on the long term. For sure, he created his business. He can decide is the owner is accountable for that. But I think this way of thinking it's outstanding. Now coming to you, Paul, what's your biggest learning from the podcast?
By the way, I can't wait to hear this response. I'm excited to hear this one. I'm really curious to know what people think.
Well, don't be that excited because more or less I was going to say what Neal was going to say word for word. So I'd be going, oh my God, what am I going to say now? So yeah, I 100% with everything that Neal said. It is, you can't sometimes help but think what people are going to be like before you meet them. And I've had my opinion changed of so many people for the better, just being able to host and co-host and co-create the podcast. I think as well, the biggest learning for me is just the kindness of, I want to say the CX community, but I think I'll put a broader span on that, in people in general. You know, we asked them to come on to the podcast. We asked them to do some pre-work. We take up 30, 40, maybe sometimes an hour of their time every Friday. And they do it willingly. And they come on and they share valuable content and valuable insight. And not once has anybody said, we'll do it at a cost, we'll charge you, and it has to be about us. Nobody has come on and said that. Nobody has demanded that we put their picture on the podcast artwork, for example. Nobody said you have to promote our business, you have to promote our book. It's all been done from the kindness of people's hearts, and I think, Gregorio, that's priceless, right? And for me, that's why I enjoy it. I don't enjoy it, that's wrong. I love it. I'm very, very thankful of Neal, really, to get me involved and to be part of this, you know, this CX community. If I'd never started the podcast, I'd have never met you, for example, Gregorio, right? And, you know, I've been very, very lucky. I've met some of my CX heroes. I've met people who have expanded my mind in terms of way of thinking. Yes, Rishad was a wonderful guest, but also I'd like to call out Jess. Jess Noble was the first one who really, for me, made the penny drop about CX and business, right? Up until then, it was all kind of, we have to improve CX. Why? Because it's better customer experience, right? That makes sense, right? But it wasn't until we met with Jess and Jess went, you need to improve customer experience because it has an impact on the bottom dollar, and this is why. And it was then for me that was like, I get it. And that definitely for me has been one of the biggest learnings. So yeah, there you go.
If you enjoyed this episode, please share the word of mouth. Subscribe it, share it. Until the next episode, please don't forget, we are not in a B2B or B2C business, we are in a human-to-human environment. Thank you!